Why is there this divide? Why was there this need? Why did you come across so many families who are sort of excluded from the system?
Yeah, it's a really good question, and I don't think it's an easy answer. I think there are multiple factors, and having lived in Albania for a while, I know that some of these factors are true for Albania as well as for Kosovo. I'd say one is about the education system, which in general, despite some extremely talented and creative teachers working in a very difficult environment to be creative and talented, I think the system as a whole is not well set up for meeting an individual and the individual's needs. And that's true whether you're a gifted and talented child, or you're a child with special needs, or you're a child who's had an interrupted education, maybe because you've traveled abroad and come back, or if you're from a minority, if you don't register on time, or any of those kinds of challenges. And so I think that's not just about the Roma and the Ashkali and the Egyptian communities, but they do often end up bearing the brunt of it. So there is a bit of a model in many classes where today we're doing page 23 and tomorrow we're doing page 24. And if you miss page 22, then sorry, that's your problem. Or if you need help because you didn't understand page 22, the machine will continue rolling on. So that is a problem for everybody who doesn't fit that model. And then I think, frankly, there is just racism there, which is not unique to Kosovo or Albania. Having taught in the UK, it certainly is a challenge wherever there are small marginalised groups, especially in Kosovo. There's the dynamic of some of what people allege the communities to have done during the war. And so, often people will say, I won't have my child sitting with a child from that community because I know what that community did in 1999, which, of course, you understand the emotional power if you have experienced something, but it doesn't make any sense to have a 7-year-old in 2025 being discriminated against because of something that happened. And then I think there's also that racism that's linked also to the fact that many of the people in the community do get their income from recycling. They are the informal recyclers and the rubbish pickers. And so they're often associated with being dirty. And that's often a reason that's given, like, I don't want my child sitting next to a dirty child, which is something that has to be challenged by teachers who are real activists for social change, and parents. Yes, exactly.
Yeah, and I guess this was another question I had, when I think even when I published my first interview with you, there were people saying very negative things about this community, and I'm wondering, when you set up this NGO, when you started doing this work, especially on the scale you're doing, did you ever get criticism, negativity? Why are you bothering with this, etc.? Was there any?
Yeah, there has been a fair bit of, there's, some just usual internet rubbish kind of people posting things on Facebook. And in fact, the government in Kosovo has set up a report discrimination platform, Rapporteur Discrimination. And I reported somebody who wrote a really unacceptable comment about the Egyptian community on one of the posts that I had done there, and another about another post that I had where I'd been talking about the community. And one of those people has been now taken to court thanks to it being reported through that platform, which, that needs to just keep on happening. And I think, the biggest way of challenging some of that negativity has been through our volunteers. I love the fact that we have volunteers from the community. We have volunteers from overseas who come, many British people, but also Americans and Germans, and who come and spend a summer or whatever. But we also have lots of often high school students, university students who come on a Saturday to our activities, or who help out with fundraising, or who come and run something with the preschoolers. And I've had a few people from that group telling me how they have then gone home and challenged the vocabulary that's used about the community, the names that they're called, the prejudices that they've encountered, kind of over the family dinner table. And I think that is a really deep level of challenging prejudice, that there's no I do that. That's not what the media can do. But a conversation between a teenage girl and her father saying, "Dad, I don't want you to use that word anymore," is how things really do change. And so that does give me...
But what about at an institutional level, when you were sort of pushing to go to school? What sort of obstacles were you coming up against when it comes to policy and laws and just getting access to basic things, healthcare, education, getting people into the system? I mean, you've worked through several governments with this partnership. So how did you overcome those issues? Because those are, it's a roadblock completely, if you come up against something like that.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the things that I love about Kosovo, and one of the things that is at the same time the biggest challenge in Kosovo, is that the people tend to be great and flexible and want to help, and the systems tend to be not set up to help. And actually, that's the exact opposite of what I'm from in the UK. In the UK, I'd say it's often the other way around. The systems, by and large, are well-meaning and functional, and then the people who are operating them often don't dare to be well-meaning or functional. They just sort of hide behind the system. So, there's a pros and cons. But yeah, the system has never been accommodating, as I say, of people who are different. That's in all kinds of ways, but also that it depends often on the individuals. And I just had a conversation with the Ministry of Education about an issue at the moment with children who are still in primary school, even though they're older than 16, because they've been kept back or maybe they registered late, and they are unable at the moment to be accessing the funding that is being transferred to households to pay for textbooks at the beginning of the school year, because the system sees that they are over 16 and can't understand why they're wanting this money. And I'm so grateful for the individuals at the ministry who are saying, okay, we need to find a way around this, but that's because I was making that contact. If you were an ordinary member of the community trying to use the online platform, the platform is just saying no. And frankly, you need 80 euros to pay for the school books for your child to start. It makes it really easy to say, I don't think we're going to do this. I think you're just going to stay this term. And so that's a classic example. The system is not set up to actually ensure maximum school enrollment, which is what we all want. But the people in the system are to battle it to find a way once I raised the issue with them and they saw what the problem was.
So things are getting better. Do you think it's, if we had to be blunt?
Yeah, things are definitely getting better. And that's partly because we now have Ashkali teachers in the system. We now have Egyptian social workers. We have a kind of new middle class who's from the community, who have been well educated, sometimes foreign educated, who are advocates. And that's the biggest sign of hope, I think.
Yes, we have our first Roma minister who will join in the government in Albania this autumn. So I'm hoping to interview her soon. She's lovely.